The Squashed Frog doorstopper pattern has two different options for the legs. One has a lot of magic rings and the other is crocheted straight onto the leg. I'll show you the straight onto the leg one now. First, make your foundation double crochet stitches for either the arm or the leg. I'm working on the arm, the leg's a little bit longer. And then do 7 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we'll come back to the 5th chain and having 2 pieces of yarn on top and 1 below, I'm going to do 4 single crochets into that stitch. There's 2, 3 and 4. Now put your hook through the front and back of that first single crochet. Can be a little difficult there. Then pass behind your work and bring a loop through there. Now you have 2 loops on your hook and the yarn is passing behind your work. And we're going to do a slip stitch through the 4th chain. So here is 1, 2, 3. You need to get into that 4th chain that's hiding up close to your work here. It can be a squeeze to get into there. You might need your finger to help push that yarn onto your hook. There it is. Then we'll pull on a loop to do a slip stitch, and the slip stitch goes through the chain and through both of the loops on your hook. And then we'll slip stitch into the other 3 chain left on this little toe part. So there's 1 slip stitch. Here's the 2nd slip stitch. Oh, I've gone into the top. I want to go into the bottom loops. There's 2. And here's the 3rd one. Then when you get back to the top of the leg, go into that first stitch there and do another slip stitch. And then we'll just repeat the process. So I'll show you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure you don't do them too tight or it's too hard to crochet into. So 7, 6, 5. We need to do 4 single crochets into this chain loop. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then put your hook through that first single crochet behind both the front and back legs of that stitch. I think I'm crocheting too tight today. When you crochet too tight, you can sometimes move up to a hook one size larger and it can help you. So we're going to pull on a loop through there from behind that chain that we've made. We have 2 loops on the hook. Now we're going to push it down so we can get access to that 4th loop. Here's 1, 2, 3, and there's the 4th loop there. So I want to go into that 4th loop just there. As I said, it's a bit of a squeeze to get into there, but it makes your toe pad into a circle rather than a teardrop shape. I thought I crocheted loosely, but obviously I didn't. There it is. Yarn over and pull through a loop, and that loop is your slip stitch, so pull it straight through the other 2 as well. And then we'll slip stitch 3 slip stitches down to the base again. So here's 1. And then here's the next one, 2. And there's the 3rd one, 3. When you get down to the base, just move across a little bit. We need to fit 4 stitches in here, so I'm going to go through this loop at the front and a loop at the back and do a slip stitch. Then we'll do another 7 chain. And we'll go back into the 5th one again and do 4 single crochets. If you want your toe pads to be bigger, you could squeeze a 5th one on there, I guess. Put your hook through the first single crochet space again. There it is, behind the front and back legs of that single crochet. Then go behind your work, pull through a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to push this down so we can get access to that 4th chain. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to go into this 4th chain. Remember, it is a bit of a squeeze, but it's worth it in the end. There it is. So pull on a loop and pull that loop through the chain and through both of the loops on your hook. And then slip stitch the 3 stitches back down to the hand. So there's 1, 2, and here's the 3rd one, 3. And we need 1 more toe pad on the body. So I'm going to go back through that same space again to do my slip stitch. And then I'm going to do 7 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and come back through 7, 6, 5, the 5th. So there's 1, 2, 3, and the last one, 4. And as before, we'll go again through the front and back loops of that first single crochet. Then go behind the chain here and pull on a loop. So we have 2 loops on the hook. We need to squish that down so that we can get access to the 4th chain. There's 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th one up here. That little one just there. If you come up below it, you can loosen it to make it more accessible, like that, and then put your hook through the top. Then hook on a loop, pull through all of those loops on the hook, and then we'll slip stitch down the 3 spaces left. So there's 1, 2, and the last one there's 3. Then when you're finished, go into the outer edge of this, going through the front and back loops there, and do another slip stitch. Then pull your yarn through, giving a long tail, and snip it off. Then you do an invisible stitch to stitch it onto here. So that's the hole we went through. You go through the next hole here, and then back in through the hole that this piece of yarn tail came out of, through there and through the back of that stitch to twist the slip stitch up even with the others. Now you can hardly even see where that joined. That's why it's called an invisible stitch. Turn your work over. What we want to do now is, you can see there's a little gap here in the center of the hand. Here's an example that I've finished where that little hole has gone. The way you make that little hole disappear is to sew this little yarn tail in by going through this peg of the foundation double crochet stitches and up through the hand and pulling that tight. I'll show you here. So go through some of the stitches here. I'll do one at a time because it'll be easier to see. There's one. Here's another one. It doesn't really matter which stitches you go through. You just want to go through there to make a foundation for this all to hang on to. And then there's the gap. We want to close that, so we'll go up through some stitches here, like this one, and maybe this one and this one. And you can see as I pull that, that gap in the center is disappearing. So I'll go through perhaps these 2 stitches over here and then back down through these stitches here. And then you pull that tight, and now there's no gap there. So it looks like a little hand. What I do then usually is to, it's my way, I don't know if this is the way everybody else does, but I open my yarn and split it into 2 sections. This yarn's 4-ply, so I split it into 2 each side, like this. And what I do next is I'll sew one of these yarn tails around this way to about here, and the other yarn tail around that way to there, and then tie a knot and tuck the ends in. So with this one I'm going to go up around here, just a couple of stitches across this way, and with the other yarn tail I'll go the opposite direction. So we went up that way, so this time I'm going to go down this way and just go around a couple of stitches again. And make sure I end in the same spot. So this one's coming out of here. I want to get to that point. So I'll sew across here. So they're exiting the same point. And then I just tie a little knot. And then I just sew, this one's tending this way, so I'll sew this one back this way. Back into the hand. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just try and make it invisible. And then sew the other one the other direction. And then just snip them off, making sure you don't cut your work. Massage the hand to make it sit nice and neatly, and there you have your little hand. This green frog is the one that I used to make my squashed frog doorstopper tutorial. It's made from 2 strands of superfine yarn and a 5mm crochet hook. The purple frog was made from size 2 or fine yarn and a 4mm crochet hook, using the same pattern. I'm using the same pattern again to make another squashed frog in a smaller size. You can see it's much smaller, it's not finished yet, but I'm using a 3mm hook and a superfine yarn, just 1 strand. Have a try and make your own frog, they're quite fun. They make me giggle every time I see them, and they're a really wonderful thing to give to someone as a gift.